we got a video from Bryant, who was over in India, and it was pretty neat. Matter of fact, I'm going to show it again Sunday morning, but you just got a preview of that. Hang on, Brother Ernie. I don't want you to go nowhere just yet.
I'll be there.
Okay. I don't want you to take off just yet.
For your prayer and support, and thank you so much for your financial support. Your money is going to help, especially for this literacy center, which is going on for the children as well as for the women. And your money is going to help these people, these students, this untouchable community to grow more in Christ through education and through basic knowledge of Jesus Christ. Thank you so much.
Amen.
Pastor, that was addressed straight to Bethesda.
Yes.
I don't think we heard that.
It might not. It might have been at the very front. We're going to get it again.
But the
Thank
monies that were given, they had bought a full 6 months worth of literature for both orphanages.
Well, and you remember, they're dealing with those folks, the untouchables. Those are those kids that nobody, if they just see them dying, they just die. Because they're beneath them somehow or another. So I just wanted to see it because that'll tear your heart out. I actually this morning on the way in McDonald's parking lot, I have for years believed that our brother Ernie Wren was the #1 Elvis fan in all the world until this morning. All right, and I got a picture of it. Okay. Why don't y'all take a look at that? I almost one of them ripped that thing off of there and said, "This is." I thought Ernie was there, but Ernie wasn't there. Doesn't that look like the back of his car? That kind of does look like the back of his car, don't it? Yeah. That is an Elvis fan showing up. Right? Ernie, I'll tell you what, he even ride with you. I bet he's got a plot at Graceland too.
If you're her, she'll let you know all about it.
Is that right?
She will.
Okay.
Pastor, I think y'all got an Elvis that shows up down there sometimes too, don't you?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
An armed Elvis.
Yeah.
But anyway, I had to do that to pick it, Brother Ernie, because I love us. All right. So if you got your Bibles open with me, please, to the 20th chapter of the book of Exodus. Exodus chapter 20. And I think we were down about verse 17, if I'm not mistaken. Exodus chapter 20, and we were down about verse 17. Now, I'm going to, hang on just a second here. Because I've had so much fun talking to y'all and messing with Ernie. I got to get to my spot. Anybody want to read me verse 17 out loud and an outside voice?
You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, nor his male servant, nor his female servant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, nor anything that is your neighbor.
Okay? All right. What are we talking about here? Covetousness. Okay? Now, we're going to back up to that. Read me verse 16, Brother Gino, while you're right there, if you don't mind. 16, yes, sir.
You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor.
All right. Now, we were talking about lying, you remember, last week? And we were talking about untruths, and we did some stuff. We talked about telling the truth bluntly, that we were supposed to tell the truth in love. And that, you know what, it wasn't our responsibility to hurt people with the truth, okay? And I want to just cover that one real quickly because, sometimes I don't think we think about the sharpness of our tongue. And that kind of thing, and I've told you over and over and over again that a word is like a bullet. Once it goes down the pipe, it's done. You know what I'm saying? And as much as you may apologize, they ain't gonna take it back. And once that hurt is there, I can assure you it will always be a sore. It will always be a spot there. It may not hurt as much, but it'll always be there. So we need to be careful how we talk to one another. That's what these verses tell us right here. But I wanted to, there are 3 questions that I want you to ask yourself when you're telling someone the truth. Okay? And the first one is it true? Now, I'm not talking about what Aunt Susie said about Uncle John. I'm not talking about what the next door neighbor said he thought he saw at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm talking about, do you know for a fact that it's the truth? And if you don't know for a fact that it is the truth, best thing to do is just keep your mouth shut. Because you can do a whole lot of damage. Now, if you don't believe that, watch, click on your idiot box and go to any news channel you want to go to. And the instant something happens, they have a news crew on their way there. The problem is that guess what? They don't know what the facts are. They don't know how the car got upside down. They don't know who shot who. But they want you to make a decision, you know what I'm saying, without all the facts. And they try to try that case in the court of public opinion when you don't know what all the facts are. Best thing is keep your mouth shut till you know the entire, complete truth. Okay? All right. Now, the second thing is this. Is it necessary? Anybody want to take a stab at that one? Is it necessary? Is it necessary to tell the preacher that he is the prettiest guy on all of Augusta Highway?
That goes back to number 1, isn't it?
Let's see, the deacons and any other armed personnel, need to come get this guy. All right? So really, is it necessary? Sometimes is it just better to just let it go? You know what I'm saying? I mean, really, is it really worth disregarding politeness and kindness and mercy so that they know? Whoo, that hat. Man, I can't believe you wore that hat to church. Is it really necessary? At the end of the day, it's not necessary. So the best thing to do is say, look, if it ain't necessary, keep your mouth shut. Say amen. And that's the hardest thing in the world to do, ain't it? Because we want to talk about, let me tell you, I need to be able to pray about this. Give me all the details. That's Latin before we give you the dirt, because I've got to get my big button phone out and use up all of my minutes calling people who don't even go to church to tell them about what's going on down there. Amen? Is it true? Is it necessary? And then finally, is it kind? Is it kind? Because here's the deal. William Barker put it this way. He says you can tell it in a way that is deliberately designed to wound and to hurt. There are people who take a delight in seeing other people wince when something is said. You ever met people like that? Isn't that sad? That's sad that people derive a pleasure out of telling somebody the truth, you know what I'm saying, only so that they can see the person hurt. You know what I'm saying? I'll tell you what, I go out to the jail every Tuesday, and I'll be quite honest with you, I see newborn children, 6, 8, 10-year-old children up there visiting, I guess their dads, you know what I'm saying? I've never been in the woman's part, but I guess their dads, and my heart breaks for them. And I'll tell you something else, it breaks for the people on the other side of that glass. Not that they didn't put themselves there, but the fact is, you know what, they got a munchkin running around somewhere, and can you imagine that at show and tell in the 2nd grade? What'd you do last night? Well, I went to the jail and visited my dad. Think about it. You know what I'm saying? So it breaks my heart because of what they're having to go through. Do they deserve whatever they got? Probably so. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, we need to be kind to one another. And it doesn't do any good. You don't know the parents that I have prayed with up there about their children being in jail. And they're brokenhearted. That doesn't mean that they condone what they're doing, but they're brokenhearted. And as any of us would be, amen? So we need to learn how to tell the truth in a kind way. And it can be done if you'll just think about it. And if it can't be done, maybe the best thing is not say it at all. Amen? All right, let's move on to the next verse that Brother Jim so aptly read for us. Thou shalt not what? Now what does that mean? Anybody got an idea? Does anybody have a dog like this? Ooh, that's an ugly dog, ain't it? Ooh, wee, bless his heart. What's that guy say? He's just barely cute. But he's talking about when he says you shouldn't covet your neighbor's property, your neighbor's wife, all those different things. What is covetousness? Anybody? One of the enemy's most effective strategies is to get you to focus on what you don't have, what you used to have, or what someone else has that you wish you had. Now think about that. That's pretty scriptural, isn't it? Anybody here ever remember the good old days? Man, I wish we were. Some of us are living in them, Miss Nancy. I don't remember the good old days because Dad used to beat the hound out of us all the time. That weren't so good. I mean, that's the reason I got so big and fat, so he couldn't lift me up no more. Because, brother, if he could ever clear them feet off the floor, it was hammer time. But the idea, don't we do that? Don't we long for those other days when in reality, if we went back and looked at them, maybe they weren't so good? What about something that we want? And I put the guy there on purpose because most of the time, what is it that we're most covetous of? It's money. But let me tell you this. That is only for a time of life. Listen to what I'm telling you now. Because when you're typically younger and don't have money, guess what you're studying on all the time? How to have money. What do you think as people get older, what do you think they covet more than anything else? Time. Time, family. Those things start becoming more important than the money. Why? Okay. That's pretty good. You can't get family and time back, right? You know what I'm saying? But why else do you think? Anybody? What about this? What about you achieved whatever it is you're going to achieve in life, and you know what I'm saying? Now you have the money to pay the light bill and the phone bill and all that, and you're not running around worried about working 3 jobs so that you can make all of that. Your kids are grown and they're out of the house. You know what I'm saying? I'll tell you what you find out is you begin to cherish things that you never thought you would cherish. I'll give you an example, okay? When we were little, Dad used to tell us all the time, say amen, Dad. Dad used to tell us all the time, if you got your health, you got everything, right? Man, please, you go in there and try and swill up as much alcohol as you could, whatever. But health, I don't need no health. Dude, hit 50 years old. Man, it crashes and burns. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, because you get up in the morning and things just, man, you're hurting places you didn't even know you had places. You know what I'm saying? And nothing. Well, I'll tell you what, you should have seen me trying to get on the floor. I thought we was going to have to call a crane jumping in there. Getting down was not the problem. Going the other way, yeah, pretty much was. So this idea of covetousness, right? It is a Greek or Hebrew word. It means to desire, to crave, to want, to long for, thirst for, yearn for, lust after. Okay? Now think about this for a minute. All right? In the original language, this word is neutral. Anybody know what I mean when I say it is neutral? Yes and no. Okay. But what I'm trying to say is not positive or negative. Okay? It's not positive or negative. Matter of fact, actually, in the original language, what it says is, this thing covers good and bad. Have you thought about that for a minute? Good and bad, legitimate and illegitimate. Now, what in the world could be an illegitimate or legitimate being covetous? You ever thought about that? It even says that, guess what? There are some gifts that we should what? Seek after. We should covet them. Is that not right? There are things in the Bible that we're saying it is good to desire these things. Right? There's also some things in the Bible that says what? Not so good. Matter of fact, actually we find out, if we go to Timothy, we find out that the love of money is the root of all evil. Okay? It isn't money is evil. It's what? It's only when we come to a point where we covet after it, because see, whether you realize or not, money is just a tool. It's no different than a shovel or a pick or a rake or whatever. It's just a tool that God has given us, one, so we can survive, but two, so that we can help others. But most of us are so busy trying to hoard up every penny we got, and I'll tell you what you'll find out. The more you will not tithe, the less you will have to spend on the things you want to spend on. If you tithe, God says, you try me out, let me show you. I'll prove to you that you'll have more than you've ever had. These people that are struggling, you ought to ask them, are you tithing? And most of the time, of course they're not going to answer you, you know what I'm saying? But most of the time, they're going to tell you, I ain't doing that. Why? Because I don't have the money. You know what I tell them? You ain't got the money to not tithe. If you think about it. Amen? So, it's positive, negative, it is legitimate, illegitimate. What are some types of legitimate covetousness that we might participate in? Anybody?
Salvation.
Okay, salvation, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. How about this? Good and perfect gifts. Okay?
Spiritual.
Now, James 1:17 says, every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, and cometh down from the Father of lights, which in whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. Now, Bill, that would go with salvation, okay? Because that's a gift. Is that not right? And he said to pursue after these things. Now, what I want to ask you is this. If there's a good and a perfect gift, is there an imperfect gift? Is there a bad gift? What could that be? The lottery. I mean, absolutely. Man, this guy wrote a book on those, and you read some of the horrific things that people went through. You know, the one guy in Alabama was the smartest one I know of. He got him a double-wide trailer and bought about 300 acres and put that double-wide right in the middle of that 300 acres. And I think he ringing around with signs that said, we'll be shot on sight. Because the idea was, is that guess what? When you have all that money, what begins to happen? There's a guy down in Florida. He won $25 million. Okay? Now, I don't know about you. $500 carried me all year. $25 million. At the end of 5 years, they sold his house for the taxes. Because he had burned through it. Because let's face it, folks, there's shiny things out there to throw that away on if you want to. I go you one step further. I read a book one time or read an excerpt from a book about the lottery, and they said the worst thing you can do is quit your job. Because most people's jobs are associated with their insurance. Now, you want to start getting some doctor bills that can work through $1 million, just go down there and get sick. Stub a toe. And let them find out you've got $25 million in the bank. Knock you out real fast. Okay? So, it is the idea there are good gifts out there. The gift of salvation. How about this? What about the gift of the church? Have you ever looked at the church as a gift? Let me tell you something. As you get older, guess what you're going to find out? You ain't got so many family to run around and run up on you. You're going to find out, you know what? It's wonderful when somebody from this church picks the phone up and calls you. It's wonderful when somebody comes by and says, hey, can I go to the pharmacy down there, the drugstore, and get you whatever it is you need so you can get better? You're going to find out that, guess what? These people were a gift to you. Okay? So, Good and perfect gifts. How about this? How about character traits? Anybody think of a character trait that we might covet after? Compassion is probably one of them. I was thinking about this one right here, and it's only because it was in this verse. Matthew 5 and 6 says, "Blessed are they which do what? Hunger and thirst after righteousness." Remember our definition? To hunger after. Is that not right? To thirst after. In other words, passionate about righteousness, for they shall be filled. Now, let me ask you a question. What does it mean when he says righteousness? Nobody?
Following God.
Okay, following God. Right living. Okay. Righteousness. In other words, would you go with doing the right thing? How do we do the right thing? Okay, we learn it from God. How do we do the right thing? You can't have righteousness until you have what? Right thinking. Is that not right? Because until you're thinking right up here, what happens? Okay, Brother John and I had a discussion this afternoon while he was over there telling me how I broke my printer. And we were talking about things in the Bible, you know. And I said, you know, really, in some areas, it really is a matter of perspective. Now, we say we believe something. We trust God, okay? And then what do? We turn around and demonstrate what? That we trust everybody and everything except who? Except God. Because he says what? Don't lean to your own understanding, but lean to mine. Is that not right? Lean on me. Okay? So we say we believe that until what happens? Huh? Until you need something. And then what do? We go to plan B, don't we? Right? So righteousness, he said, blessed are they that hunger after doing the right thing. Now, most of the time, what we find in our culture is what? Are people hungry and thirsting after righteousness? It's usually the other way around, isn't it? In other words, we're taught, and your children are taught in school, that what? If you have to lie to get by, lie. It's okay. Well, you know, if you really need that and you can't afford it, what? Steal it. Okay? That's the culture in which we live in. That's those good and perfect gifts again. All right? So the idea is that guess what? There can be legitimate things, traits, gifts that God says it's all right to be covetous, to desire those, to want those. How about to serve the Lord? Isn't that wonderful? We got people right here who are passionate about serving God. Man, it's a beautiful thing to see, dude, when they roll up at your house and something's got to be done, and when they get done, it looks better than it did when you first had it, and you say, what I owe you, and they just laugh at you and walk on off. That's a wonderful thing. You know what I'm saying? That's what happens, right, when we hunger and we thirst after righteousness and we have people who are wanting to do the right thing. Amen? So, there are some things out there. All right? What about some illegitimate covetousness? How about that? I still got the dog up on mine. What about some illegitimate covetousness?
Things that don't belong to you that you shouldn't be looking for.
Sin.
Sin. Ephesians 5 and 3 says, but fornication and all uncleanliness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becometh saints. What's he saying? He said there are certain things that if you claim to be a child of God should not be a part of your life. Okay? And covetousness is one of them. That's just one of that list. Listen to this. This is in Colossians 3 and 5. It says, mortify or put to death, therefore, your members which are upon the earth, fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affections, evil concupiscence, and covetousness, which is... What does it mean by that? Covetousness, which is... Right? Whatever you want can become your God. Anybody else? Anybody else? Whatever you want can become your God. He said that when you come to this point, now, I'm going to tell you, there are a couple of different kinds of covetousness, okay? There's a covetousness that says, I want something out there in outer space. Whatever it is, okay? Watch, ring, diamond, car, whatever, okay? It's one type of covetousness. There's another type of covetousness which says, I want what you got. That's right, I want your car. I want your job. And people who do that will come to the point to say, I hope he gets sick. I hope he misses his deadline. Because when he does, guess what I'm fixing to do? I'm going to slide right on in there. That's an envy. And the thing about it is, the people who feel like that will not put in the legitimate work to have the position. Now, if you don't believe that, you talk to somebody that's got one of them cars, like Brother Dwayne's got. The one you can't drive to Walmart and walk off and leave because somebody will drag your key down it. And it ain't because they're ever going to work hard enough to ever have anything like that. That's it. They just have it. They don't want you to have it. They don't want you to have it. Now stop thinking about how ludicrous that is. But folks, let me tell you something. That's the world in which we live today. Covetousness has come to that point, and you know what? You see it inside the church. We call it jealousy. Why he don't never call on me to pray? If you tell me you pray, I call on you. Why? I don't know why. Why don't I ever get to teach that class? You talk to your teacher, brother. Let me tell you something. You get pushed right on in there in a minute. Amen? Why they won't let me do this? Why? Well, I'll tell you what. I'd make as good a deacon as that guy did. That's the covetousness I'm talking about. And it's a dangerous, dangerous thing. Because it is idolatry. Because anything that comes ahead of God. And you remember what we said? Remember what we said about how that was? I think that's a slide on that. Idolatry is a sin of the heart. Okay? Think about this for a minute now. Idolatry is a sin of the heart. Okay? Because here's the deal. The first 9 brain damage. The first 9 commandments all deal with what? Anybody? The first 9 commandments. Thou shalt what? Not what? Whatever. You fill in the blank, right? Steal, covet, kill, right? All those things are what? They are an action. Is that not right? Doesn't say don't think about, well, it does in the New Testament, but it doesn't then think about, well, if I thought about killing somebody, and I don't know about y'all, I don't know if you've ever done that or not, it's only happened a couple of times for me, and usually the kids had the same last name as me. Okay? Doesn't say that when you think about it, that that's a sin, does it? Till you get where? To hear. Right? Now what's he dealing with? Attitude of the heart? Thought process? Because here's the deal. Think about this for a minute. When something, when does it really become sin? When is it just a thought, a fantasy? Man, I'd like to have that new car. I'd like to live in that house. I'd like to have that job. When does that thought become a sin? Crave, long, lust after it. Consumed with getting it, giving ourselves over to pursuing it, giving top priority and first attention to it, focus our hearts, minds, energy, and time to what? So it becomes a sin when? When we start pursuing it. When we start, because here's the deal. The guy that's going to steal from Walmart, right? Where does it start? The stealing starts where? In his heart. That's exactly right. Because if his heart were right and the thought would come in there, because everybody has those thoughts all the time. Man, that sure is don't tell my wife. That sure is a nice crock pot. been looking at that Pioneer Woman crock pot thing? We don't, next time we eat, I guarantee you, look for that one on the bottom and say Galloway. Because then she's going to get one in Pioneer crock pot for us all over. I have no idea, nothing wrong with the crock pot we got. But she wants a Pioneer crock pot. So, Sherry, y'all probably in for another crock pot. Alright? So the idea is that guess what? When we began to study on it. Now, y'all, do you remember that phrase from when you was little? And your grandparents told you, don't study on that. What was they talking about? They wasn't talking about pencil and a piece of paper. What were they talking about? Think about this. Let me ask you this. How about the things we worry about? Is that covetousness? Because we're seeking an outcome. We begin to dwell on it. And God says what? Turn it over to you. Now, you don't have to shake your head. Don't have to say amen. How many of y'all have said in your heart during the invitation, I'm going down there, I'm going to lay that on the altar? Right? You come right on down here, you lay it on the altar, then what do? You get your little wagon, put it back in there, when you go back in. Right on the back of the house, don't you? Don't we do that? Really? Right? Is that covetousness? Because we say we believe one thing, but what? We do another. Right? That's also hypocrisy. But the idea that I'm trying to get across to you is this. When we begin to study on it, when it begins to consume you, when you think about how to have, let me ask you this. When that happens, and let's shift this into a relationship mode. All right? You're talking to this girl at the water cooler. Okay? All right? All right? And you don't even watch The Bachelor, but she's talking to you about it, okay? All right? When does that become a problem? When you begin to study on it, right? Okay. Now, when you begin desire to put action to this thought, right? What is your mind going to do? Let's don't use that because that's horrible. All right. What about this? What about the idea of buying a car? Anybody here ever got the new car bug? Oh, man. What happens to the old car? Doggone car. Look at it. Sitting out there. Look, it's got a scratch on the fender. It's had a scratch on the fender for 20 years because you don't know how to drive. Doggone piece of junk. I remember 20 years ago I had to put a battery in that thing. Don't we do that? Okay? Now bring that over to your relationship. Your wife now or spouse is what? Not good enough, not smart enough, not tall enough, not thin enough.
Our greatest problems ain't there.
See? Because what happens? The heart's desire is for something that's not ours. That's not legitimate. And guess what happens? The enemy does what? Man, he starts building in there. And whatever it is that you're coveting after, whatever you have, now becomes insufficient. Can you remember back when you bought your first house? Man, you thought it was the Taj Mahal. You didn't think it was ever going to be like that. Till your fifth kid came along and you found out what? I needed 14,000 more square feet to raise up each other. And then it was too small. Well, you know, it's really on the corner a lot. And don't drain good. The grass don't drain good. Whatever. Until what? Till you've talked yourself into doing something else. Exactly right. So then you go out, you buy a house you can't afford. You can't afford to pay the utilities on it. And then what happens? It's God's fault. Isn't it? It's God's fault. I don't know why I ever let this happen like that. So, am I discombobulated?
I don't know what you did. Try again.
I don't know, it's blinking at me.
Well, if it's sin,
I have this electronic stuff here, lady.
if it's a sin to
Okay,
think about it,
okay.
then how do you stop thinking?
Do I now?
If it's a sin to think about it, then how do you stop your thinking?
But I didn't say that though. I didn't say that. I said, when does it become a sin? First it's a thought.
Yeah.
All right? And here's the deal. What about let's just use the car for an example, okay? All right. When the idiot box brings on that new German Mercedes that everybody really's got to have, you know what I'm saying? And it's down at the car lot, right? Y'all don't speak German, do you? That's what it is, all right? But it's got that German Mercedes down there that everybody's got to have, right? Okay. Is it a sin when the commercial comes on? It's not, is it? You saw it, you thought about it, didn't you? Right? When does it become a sin? When I begin to do what? When I begin to dwell on it. When I begin to, it becomes, right there. When it gets to that point, when it's all I think about, when it's all I talk about, when it's all I'm studying on how I can make the payment on, right? That's when it becomes sin. Now, I go you one step further here. This point right here, we'll stop right here for just a second. All right? I told you there are two different kinds of covetousness. Thank you. All right? All right? First time I said it's something out there, something that's an intangible, whatever out there that you want. Okay? Let me ask you a question. In that type of covetousness, who is the most hurt? Why?
Because you're lying to yourself.
Okay. Anything else? Why? Why are you the most hurt? It consumes you after a while, doesn't it? It becomes all your be-all, end-all. That's all you think about, right? My mom had a saying when we were younger, boy, that just, man, y'all ever done that when you get to like about 40 years old and you go, man, they were geniuses. Y'all ever done that before? You know, up to about 35 or 40 years old, you think you know everything, can do everything. You know what I'm saying? Man, you get 2 or 3 of them things right at Drum Snatchers, you say, man, they were geniuses. Anyway, Mom used to say that wanting is better than having. Think about that for just a minute now. Wanting is better than having. Oh man, you're going to do all this stuff when I get my new German Mercedes, right? And then you get it and it needs a starter. And you find out that the people that had to put it on had to speak German in order to be able to put it on. And they're halfway around the world, and that's where that part's got to come from. And it's $1,900 for a starter, where your Ford had a $300 or a $30 starter on. Okay? Now what happens to the bubble? Is that not right? So who gets hurt in the end? Covetousness consumes us. Okay? But you remember I talked about that covetousness where we were coveting somebody else's whatever? Like it's saying here. Now who does it hurt? It hurts you and whoever you're coveting against. Why? Because you remember what I said? I hope he gets sick. Man, if he slips here, if he has a car wreck before he gets here, I'll have his job. You know? Hey, I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to have his wife if something happens to him. And you say, people don't think like that. Big time. So the idea is that, see, what I'm trying to tell you is this. This covetousness thing right here is idolatry. It can come to a point where, man, whatever it is you're after, you set it to a point where it becomes your God. And you know, I like what Ms. Doris said. It does. It consumes you. It consumes your waking, your sleeping, and whether you realize it or not, this thing that God's put up on your neck right here, that is the greatest computer ever created. And whether you realize it or not, you know what? Don't nod your head and say amen. Ever wanted something so bad you dreamed about it? You know why that is? Because that giant computer's doing what? You fed it this whole time, right? And what's it doing when you lay down? You think it went into sleep mode, but what's it doing? It's rehearsing over and over and over again what it was you recovered. Yes. Yeah. It's on screensaver, yeah. See, this idea of being covetous, it's serious. It's something that we all need to deal with. I tried to find a graphic with the statistics on it, but I could not. That was the best one I could find. Because we've all been there. Say amen. We've all been. You know, hey fellas, you know what I'm talking about when y'all went down to the buffet? You know what a buffet is? Big old buffet, fellas eating together. And you was down there, and your wife said, we got to say the blessing. You wasn't having none of that. Where was you at? You was up there at the fried chicken diving in with both. They had to pull you out by your feet. Right? Looks like that book, isn't that? So we're going to stop here tonight. Any questions? Have I really confused you? Comments? This is your time now. Anybody? If not, please be careful going home, folks. Those prayer requests, if you'd like them to come to you, if you'll give the lovely Miss Rita your email address, they can be emailed to your inbox so that you don't have to try and remember them or write them down. So you can pull them up when you pray about them. So anyway, if I can do anything for you in the coming week, please don't hesitate to call on me. I'm not going to be down here tomorrow with the work crew like I normally am. I'm going to try and take the next couple, 3 or 4 days and just kind of spend some time with Ashley before she gets gone. I will still be available. Call me. You know what I'm saying? If you need me, I will come. But if not, you know what I'm saying? I'm just going to try and visit with them as much as I can before they get gone. You know what I'm saying? So, because peace at my house will end Monday at 3 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway. If I can do anything for you in the coming week, please don't hesitate to call on me. I will help you any way that I can.